We prepped for it. One of our battalion chiefs, Chief Weidling, had a class in here and went over all the swift water stuff. And then he said, he's like, if this happens, like, people are going to die. And it kind of caught me off guard. I went, I mean, how is he so sure? I've never experienced anything like this. And so then my mind kind of started wandering, well, okay. I expected flooding is what I expected. I expected, serious flooding, maybe cars being swept away, boulders coming down. Nowhere near what happened. I mean, that was, obviously, I don't think anybody really expected that. So we were preparing for it, a lot of swift water stuff, which obviously we didn't even put into play because it was a whole different beast. So, the memory that stands out most to me is just being there that night. Everybody's here. We're looking at the Doppler. We're looking at all this stuff, and we're actually remaining really hopeful. Like, maybe it misses us, right? I mean, maybe it goes north or south or east, west, whatever, and it goes around us, and we'll be fine, and we'll be maybe dealing with something in La Conchita or Ojai or wherever. So we all went to bed that night, kind of just on edge, kind of just waiting, but remaining hopeful. 2 o'clock or so hits, and I get woken up by the rain, and it was like Caribbean style downpour, tropical depression rain, and it continued for a half hour, 45 minutes, and I just kind of was like, how are we not getting a call right now? What's going on? There's so much rain now. There's no flooding, nothing. And I was laying at my bed, and I have the furthest back dorm. And the blinds were shut, but I was laying there, and that's when all of a sudden the explosion, the gas line that exploded, erupted. And then obviously I knew something was going on there. Didn't have any idea that there was a huge debris flow that had ruptured that line, or at least that's my guess, is that's what happened. And then from there, it was a blur, kind of. Hop outside, figure out that's not a structure fire. I mean, that's 300-400 foot flame lengths. And I had an idea that the high pressure gas line was over in that area. And a few minutes later, we all kind of deduced, like, that's got to be what it is. And then sure enough, we started getting apparatus on scene over there that were pre-positioned. And yeah, this is that gas line with several homes involved. And then I was on the USAR that night, staffed on the USAR. Well, the USAR couldn't go anywhere because it was a river out front of boulders and mud. So we all split up into utility vehicles and SUVs, and then I was with Captain Holty, and we split down San Ysidro. Once San Ysidro dried up, I use that term loosely, we were able to drive through it. We headed down. We had a report of somebody stuck down on Pomar. So we drove down there, actually got out, started calling for the person. It happened to be a lady that was up on top of her roof. So we trudged our way through, and it was, waist deep water and mud, but it was kind of what you would expect for a flood. So we were lucky enough to find her, get her and her dog off, take her back to the station. Had more reports. We're driving around trying to help people. We got our dispatcher and her family out of their house and got them back to the station. And during this whole time, I had no clue the extent of what happened. I thought, we got flooding. This is bad. We got debris coming down. But I had absolutely no idea that on either side of where I was like complete devastation. I wasn't able to see it. And at night, where we picked up our dispatcher, her house was right on the border of where that. I call it basically like a tsunami. The only way that I can try and describe the effect of what happened. But like I said, I had no clue really the devastation that had happened until the next day when daylight broke and we were able to drive through, that I'd see it. So that night we were just trying to effect some rescues and try and figure out how to get places, because really we were trapped. We were stuck in between the two, I would call, major, debris flows. And, we actually got positioned at Montecito Union School, where we flew out a few people. And that's where, I guess that's kind of where things started cluing in for me. Like, wow, the people that we loaded in the helicopter were covered in mud and they were messed up pretty bad. Still didn't hit me until I really saw it the next day. But yeah, that's kind of my story of the debris flow. And then from there it was, the rescue operations and going on from there. But that was the first night. That was kind of my angle of the story there. What I found, the moments of hope were probably things that people won't understand unless you're in there and doing it. But like finding somebody was a joyous moment for us because we're able to. The best way I tried to describe this before, like to my family, right? So we go to structure fires, wildland fires, all these medical emergencies where we know what to do. We can put water on fire. We can affect change almost, instantaneously. We have the tools and we have the training to do it. Here was like, go find a needle in a haystack. How do you prepare for digging through mud and hoping to find somebody? Like that's not a rational, normal thought, but that was what we had to do. And so honestly, like finding somebody was the only good part about doing what we were doing, because we're able to like, at least the family, like we're able to give that family a little bit of closure, so, and that was all we could really do. It was all we could do. There's nothing else we could do. And I think that's the hardest part as a firefighter, right? You're trained to be able to go in there and make a change, impact something, and then you get a situation where it's like, good luck, do the best you can. So we're kind of like wandering around, like probing, hoping to find a body. Like that's some fucked up shit. Excuse me for the language, but that's you hope nobody have to go through that. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough. But I'd say the unfortunately there's 2 people that are still missing. Obviously, we hope they're found so their parents and family members can try and move on. Or that's not the right term, but I think you guys understand what I'm trying to say.